Thank you for that. So, guys, tonight we're going to start off by introducing you to the two guests. Let's see who that. That's my Maestro. I'll mute it there. So, our two guests is Rudi Hendricks, and we're just going to talk a bit. And the other guest is Maestro Zacchaeus. Right. So the reason for now both guys, and I'm going to let them. We're going to talk. They can tell you a bit about themselves. Rudi is a bit. In fact, you know what? I'm not even going to do this. I'm just going to let them introduce themselves. Okay. So they're going to introduce themselves, tell us a bit about themselves, and then I'm going to ask them questions. Okay. So that's how we're going to do it. So we're going to start with Rudi. Meneer Hendricks. I just want to know a bit about your background from a church point of view and your instrument point of view. Obviously, who you are and where you're from is nice as well. Some background. Is Rudi with us? Is he frozen? I think he's frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, man. I hope my internet holds. It's Jeffreys Bay, and I don't have the best internet. But hi, guys. Nice to meet all of you. My name is Rudi Hendricks. I am, I'm a child of God, and I am local on. I am on the same worship team as bass player. I have a lovely wife, Angela, and I have 3 kids. And one, yes.
Off, then it will be easier for us to hear you, I think. Try that.
Okay. Is that better? Okay, I don't know how much of that you got. I said, I'm honored to be in the same worship team as Kurt. I'm a bass player. I am a husband to my lovely wife, and I'm dad to 3 lovely kids. And I'm a local entrepreneur in Jeffreys Bay. Yeah, I just went on to data. Hopefully it's going to be better.
Okay, can you just want to finish telling us who you are and what you do?
That was pretty much it. I'm joking.
Okay.
Yeah, I also.
Okay, so guys, so the bottom line is this: I brought these two guys on. So Rudi isn't a full-time musician, and Maestro is a full-time musician. It's what he does for a living. So it's 2 sides of the spectrum, right? And I just want to talk a bit to these guys about practice and preparation. So that's the questions that I'm going to ask them, and then we're going to just talk through that. So Rudi, just quickly, you don't do music full time, but how long have you been playing bass for?
I've been playing bass for about 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah, 20 years, yeah.
Okay. So, and I can obviously attest to the fact that Rudi can play bass. So my next question is this: do you find that you still need to practice or not? Or is it just like automatic or...
Oh, no. No, I practice all the time. One of the reasons is because I enjoy playing my bass still.
Right.
And being prepared is just one of the things that's very, very close to my heart. I feel very strong about being prepared. But I've also found the fact that I don't do this professionally. I'm having to work a bit harder, putting in a bit more time. Because I have to make the time, you might have to find a day in your week or a couple of hours per day in the week, but that doesn't excuse the fact that you need to, whether it's a gig or worship or whatever, if someone sends you a set list or a song list or whatever, and you agree to it, you gave your word that you're gonna, you said yes to the gig or whatever it is, then you want to be prepared, And I found that the better the muses are you playing with. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. Everyone can, you didn't you didn't learn your stuff, So yeah.
Okay, and what about besides the songs that you have to learn? What kind of practice do you do besides that? Do you jam, or how do you do that? What does your practice time look like?
What I've done, what I've done over the years is I love music. I love different genres of music, and if I like something, um, I'll buy the music, and I will learn to play that whole album. Well, I'll just jam through the whole thing, and I've found that in that way I've learned different. I've learned to think um, almost with different caps on. If I'm playing rock, I'm not gonna come with a jazz mind,
Mm,
jazz way of thinking. If I'm gonna learn the lines that the rock bass plays, and and because I want to learn how the guy playing on the album is thinking, that makes me enjoy that music.
yeah,
You know, so yeah, I would learn that thing until I can play with my eyes closed.
yeah. Okay, and then the last question is preparation versus rehearsal. So, in other words, when you get a set list, talk to me about your preparation for the rehearsal.
Well, because I also do a bit of MDing, I've had to learn the discipline of learning a song order as well, which helps a lot with um, just knowing where the song is going, what the dynamic is going to be doing next. You have to listen to that thing over and over, and then you make your notes or your annotations, and yeah, look, anything can change on stage, because there's some spontaneous elements, and just in the live environment, things usually most of the time changes. But I learned, I've taught myself to have the plan down in front of me, and then if God or just the energy in the room, whether it's gospel or secular, if that wants to change the dynamic, then yeah, we're ready. We can go anywhere.
Yeah. And do you think good preparation allows you to go anywhere by, being prepared? Do you think that helps?
Oh, I think it's crucial. I think just for the player, him or herself,
Yeah.
if you prepared, that allows you to not be so focused on what's happening next and all that. You kind of can feel things now, because you kind of know what the different sections are going to do, and if the MD calls something different than what the plan is, you know that part so well that you can just go there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
even if one of the guys, the keys player or guitar player, initiates just by playing a line, you can go wherever because you know the sections.
Right. And one of the, just nearing the end, there's stewardship. What is stewardship of gifting? What does that mean to you as a person that plays in church? So what does that mean to you?
Look, I love God so much, and I really love this gift that He gave me. It's like when your mom or dad buys you your favorite toy. You're not gonna treat that toy well, you know. Um, so to me, this gifting is something that I cherish very close to my heart. I love playing my bass, so I'm not just gonna treat it in any way. And I've been privileged to play with guys who also take their music serious, and that encourages me to or keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So, guys, and I think once again, because it's, the reason, like I said, I got Rudi and Maestro is that both guys play at a very high level. One's a full-time musician, one isn't a full-time musician. And to understand that there shouldn't be a difference on how we approach music just because one isn't perhaps my job, drawing that conclusion to the point that if I put my hand up to say, that I'm going to be there, then there has to be a level of preparation that goes along with that. So having said that, I just want to go back over to Maestro. Maestro, you were telling us about your church. Even if you were sick, it was still a good reason to go to church. Do you want to just finish doing your introduction? Introduce Maestro Zacchaeus, guys. He can tell you exactly who he is and what he does, and his involvement with church over the years. All yours.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Like Kurt said, my name is Maestro Zacchaeus. Maestro is not my name on my ID. My real name is Abram Zacchaeus. I'm the 9th sibling in a family of 12 siblings. One mom, one dad, no twins. My dad's a pastor, and grew up in church. I think if anyone else in this group is a pastor's child, you pretty much know that you don't really have a choice when it comes to what church should be to you, or you don't have a choice when it comes to when you're not going to be in church, especially like in my case, church was in the backyard. So you couldn't really say you're not feeling well, because then that would be a reason for you to go to church. So yeah, like I said, like I grew up in church, big family, musical background. I play keys. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. I feel like as much as when you grow up as a pastor's child, you feel like you don't have a choice, but as you grow older, you start realizing that you actually do. You know, I remember that there was a time that I used to think that if my dad is going to heaven, if my dad is a pastor, then I don't have to do as much work as far as building that relationship with, because this guy has been building this bridge this whole time, you know, so I can also just cross over when the trumpet sounds, you know. And then you start you start realizing that this is actually a personal thing, you know. You have to actually build a personal relationship, and it's an individual thing, you know. And as when that starts happening, that's when you realize that it actually has nothing to do with what my dad's been doing this whole time, but everything to do with me making sure that I have a personal connection, you know. And that's where it became real to me. That's when being at church started to become something totally different, you know. It now moves from me feeling like I don't have a choice to me choosing to always be there, and choosing to always wanting to get closer to him, you know. And that's basically my life in a nutshell, bro. Like, I only know church. Like, from that time. And the amazing part about this is now you grow up and you move out and you move away from your parents, but what they taught you growing up and what you saw growing up, it feels wrong to miss a Sunday from church. It feels wrong to miss being in his presence on a Sunday and fellowshipping with other people because of what you saw growing up, you know. So if I could go back, I would probably just want to skip a few services on the days that I wanted to be with my friends as a child, because I wanted to still be a child. You know, I feel like I didn't really have an opportunity to be a child, if I can call it that, you know. But other than that, I feel like ever since I made my personal connection, that's when I found my identity. You know, like growing up in such a big family, I think in any family, like if you're staying at home, you kind of watch what everyone watches, or you eat what everyone eats, and you drink what's in the fridge already, you know. And I feel like that's the same thing happened with my Christianity, you know. I felt like I was singing the songs because they were singing the songs. There wasn't a true meaning until I made my own connection. And that's when those things started to make sense to me on a personal level. And ever since then, I've just been enjoying being in church, and I would skip work for church, and I would always try and fly back on a Saturday evening after the show, especially if the gig was on a Saturday during the day. Like, there's no point for me to miss church on a Sunday morning just because I'm in Durban. So let me get that last flight out, you know, so I can be in church. It just becomes part of who you are after some time, you know. So
Maestro, can I just I don't know if obviously I just want to quickly just Maestro's background. So obviously Maestro does music for a living. I can just wrap off the names. At one stage, he was probably the busiest keyboard player in the country as far as playing for different artists, from TKZ to, you name it, Maestro's been there, Zahara, he's played with the biggest artists in the country. And I can attest to that if the gig finishes at 8 and there's an aeroplane to get home, to get to church the next day, this man's on that aeroplane to be at church the next day. Flight. Not just to be on the flight, but now let's talk preparation as well. So we've established, okay, this guy, obviously there's something really deep in you that's, that like loving church. And I want to just say this, man, for me as well, church is Jesus' bride, you know what I mean? Like we can't get away from that, So tell us now your kind of music journey. So now you come back on a Saturday night, your preparation and all that. How does that look for church? Because you're a full-time musician. You play with TKZ, you play with Zahara, you play with pretty much everybody. Then is church too big for that? I mean, is church too small for that? How do you manage that? And kind of like, how does that fit in a tier of how much preparation do I give church because it's not this big gig now? Or tell us a bit about that kind of process in your mind.
Honestly, to be quite honest with you, bro, it's the total opposite of what you said now. I always felt like not being in church was the small part of what I was doing. I felt like being connected to my church and being committed to my church was the very same thing that enabled me to be able to work with all these guys, because I didn't go to music school. I'm self-taught. I can't read music. So to be able to see God's hand over my life made me feel like if I just need to be in church to make sure that you're going to keep showing me these things, I'm all for that, So when it comes to, I always felt like even during this time of the pandemic, I felt like if ever there was a time for us to be connected to the true source, it's now, like especially for people that are full-time in the music industry. If your music industry is closed down, and your source was always the people that you named now, I would have been doomed now, God. I would have been doomed, bro. If I wasn't connected to the true source this time, I feel like I would have crashed and burned, bro. You wouldn't have been able to get hold of me for this Zoom call, So I feel like it really helped me to, and that happened very early in my career. I felt like, and I made a promise to God. I made a promise to God, and I was like, if I promise to make sure I'm always gonna be in your house, like every opportunity that I can be to add value and to be in your house, I'm gonna do that for as long as you take care of everything else. You know my heart. You know what I want to do. I'm going to submit all these plans to you. And in return, I'm just going to make sure that I'm in your house whenever I can be, So when it comes to prepping for that, I felt like on my way home, on the flight home, like that Saturday evening after the gig, when you and Lloyd and them still hang out, Kurt, that's when I would normally prep. That's when I start prepping and just shutting down from the whole work environment. That's when it becomes, okay, now I need to mentally prepare myself for church. Sorry, excuse me. So I would normally listen to the songs even when I'm driving, like even before checking the songs and any of those things. Like a few days before they actually practically working out the songs, I would just listen to it in the car when I'm driving, going wherever, just so that the song starts feeling like the way we want people to receive the song. Because I feel like a lot of what people feel when we do what we do comes from us first having that experience, So if you want the song to mean anything to the congregation,
sorry, can you say that again, just so that people get what you just said there? Can you just say that again? Because that's deep. That's huge.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, what I said was, for me, I used to just listen to the music before practically working out the songs. So it would play in the house. If I'm in the house, if I'm in the lounge, I'm listening to the song. If I'm driving somewhere, I'm listening to the song. So that the song can first mean what it's supposed to mean to me personally, Before the message, before I can be the messenger, the message first needs to reach my heart, You know, if the song is supposed to change someone else's life, let's allow that song to change my life first, you know, so that I can play it from a place of the song means this to me first, you know. And I feel like the same thing happens in the secular world. Like these guys feed off the crowd when they're performing. Everyone feeds, the artist in front feeds off the energy that they get from the people, you know. But I feel like when it comes to what we do in church, it's a totally different experience because we need to now make time for this song to first be a blessing to us before we can be a blessing to the congregation, you know. And I feel like it's a big job. It's not something that you can just go and do on a Sunday morning because the guys didn't come. I want to listen to the songs on your phone on the way to church and try and get the impression or get the message across. You know, I feel like that dilutes so much of the true essence of what any song is supposed to mean. So for me, that's my personal one. Like, listen to the music, allow it to be a blessing to me first. That's the biggest part. That's 80% of my prep. Allow the song to mean to me first what I'm hoping it would mean to anyone coming in on Sunday.
Okay.
You know, or whenever we're gonna do what we do.
Okay, and then my next question is, how do you, your relationship with other people in your church band, because obviously I'm assuming not everybody in the band is a full-time musician. So how does that relationship look? In other words, do you have a certain expectation of how the music should sound, and do those other people bring it? Or do you find it's a tough situation where you've got some people that bring it and some people that don't? And how do you manage that if that is the case? I don't know what the case is. So maybe start with the first part of how do you manage that relationship coming from a very high level of music to whatever you have to deal with on a Sunday? And maybe it's also high. I don't know. You tell us.
Look, I wasn't always in a band where the band members are all full-time. But luckily, my current church, all the guys are full-time. I've got Carlo Joestar on bass, Divine Mitchell on guitars, you know, Nemo on drums. So these are all guys that are in the industry. And when it comes to prepping for the songs on a Sunday, they do it the way they do when they work. You know, like there's a thorough preparation going into making sure that everything is the way it's supposed to sound. But like I said, I wasn't always in a band where everyone was a full-time musician. So I feel like that makes it a little more difficult. But at the same time, when it comes to God's work, you want to put aside what you know, because none of what we're supposed to do is supposed to be about us in the first place. You know, so you want to at least make sure that the guys know the song, because I don't want to make it sound like, no, if you're not a full-time musician, you don't have to know the songs because this is God's work. You know? I feel like there should also be a level of excellence when we do what we do for God, especially if we do this for a living, because we tend to sometimes feel like, now we can just jump on stage on Sunday. Oh no, you'll show me the song on stage, you'll show me the numbers on stage while we're busy playing the song, you know, so that obviously that obviously changes what's supposed to be happening. But like I said, I'm blessed enough to be in a band now where everyone in the band is full. So the guys do it exactly the way they do for any other art.
Okay. And then tell me, go back to the last question I asked Rudi about stewardship. What does stewardship of gifting look like and mean to you?
I think I agree with what Rudi said, bro. Like, if somebody gives you something, not only is there an expectation from their side for you to enjoy what's given to you, but at the same time, you have a responsibility to take care of what was given to you. Should you be asked how this gift is, or should you find yourself in a situation where somebody wants to know, so what have you been doing with that gift that I gave you? You know, like, have you been enjoying it? You don't want to have to tell this person you had to sell it, or it's broken, or someone stole it. You know what I mean? So I think it's exactly the same thing. Like, you want to make sure that when something is given to you, first understand that you did not deserve it. you know, like you are undeserving of this gift. Because I feel like if you know you didn't do anything to have to get this gift, you kind of understand the importance of really taking care, you know. So that's what it means to me, like really watering this plant that was given to you, because we're calling it a gift now, but it's also a seed, you know, like it's something that grew into my life to a point where I could now live from it. So I think it just depends on your view on what the gift is. If it's a gift that you would like to just display on a Sunday, good and well. But if you see it any other way, you can basically live from any gift that was given to you, whether it's drawing, whether it's singing, and this now spreads across any other talent that's given to anyone else. You know, there's people that love doing it, but they don't do it for a living. And then you get people that feel like I'm gonna depend solely on this gift that was given to me, because the giver of this gift owns everything. The giver of this gift basically owns everything. And now he's given me a piece of that wealth, you know, and I just need to work this to the point where you can basically pick the fruits from this gift, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it is.
Okay. Just before I ask you the next question.
Sorry, bro. Sorry. I hope these answers are good enough, Kat.
Yes, absolutely. I think, like I said, that's why I've got a full-time musician, and I've got a guy that doesn't do it full-time in Rudi, you know, because that's two sides of the spectrum, and that's pretty much what church is. Yeah, it's people, and this is the thing, is that both of you guys are always prepared. That's why I'm speaking to you, because I've done stages with both of you guys. We're on church and off church stage, and you guys are always prepared. You know, I'll never forget when Maestro comes into the room and it's a rehearsal. It's not even a church rehearsal. We always we take it straight to church. You know what I mean? It's just something. Some people carry a weight, and you're just one of those guys that carry a weight in your playing. And when I say weight, I'm talking about it's you know what I mean? It's something so tangible. You know, I just see God smiling down on your playing, man. So we appreciate your gifting, man. You know, it's a humble spirit, man. A humble spirit. So and that's the thing. That's the other thing I want to touch on tonight is the humility, the humbleness of what we've been called for. You know, as creatives, I think, you know, the Bible says the humble, the meek will inherit the world. And there's such power in humility, you know, and that humility is one that always seeks people to you know, seeks others to be better, you know, always pushing others, you know, always what's the word, always championing people. You know, we must never forget that, you know, as creatives in our space, because there's always going to be guys that are better than us. There's always going to be guys that aren't as good. And from both sides, we need to be able to champion people, and we need to be able to, you know, humbly come to people and help them and guide them. Whether they listen is a completely different discussion, you know. But that's the thing, you know, like I said, anything that gets birthed here must get birthed in humility, you know. So Rudi, just going back to you, last question. Obviously you've been playing for many years, and we heard from you about stewardship and stuff. Last thing here, just give me one sec. I did ask you that. I just want to read a quote, right? It says this. It says, "You can either be a hostage to your own ego or a host to God." So I just want to quickly just talk about band and coming to a rehearsal. What does it do to you when people aren't as prepared as they should be? And I'm not talking about as a MD, I'm talking about just in general. Like, where does that put you? Like, and we can talk straight here, you know, how does it feel when people come unprepared?
Well, in the first place, for me, it's very frustrating because, yeah, look, I think especially when it comes to certain worship music and those, but that's even irrelevant. But especially when the stuff is, it's not really complicated, you know. The least you can do is to prepare the music. And then the other thing is, I strongly feel that you kind of dishonoring the rest of the team when you rock up unprepared. You know, you're saying, you know what, this wasn't important enough to me, so we can figure it out here. And I think that's totally disrespectful, because I mean, that's, you have to honor people's time, and you have to honor the fact that, um, yeah, like you mentioned earlier, if you put your hand up, if you say yes, I'm part of this band, if you say yes, I want to be here, then bring all of you, you know. So I think it's just a matter of it's like punctuality. That's another thing. If you late, you kind of dishonoring the team, because everyone else had to wait for you now. Yeah, for me, it's kind of the same thing. It's just like, don't dishonor the rest of the team. It's not cool.
Cool. And Maestro, for you, the same question. So I'll just read that statement. Again, it says, you can either be a hostage to your own ego or a host to God. So once again, just humility. How does that, I mean, like I said, you're a very humble guy. So why? Why is humility important as a musician?
I think it boils down to something I mentioned earlier. You know, I think the minute you realize that God can raise up stones to do your job, you're forced to get over yourself. You know, like the minute you know that you are replaceable. You know, I feel like some musicians find themselves in a church where they add the most value, and if they're not around, you can feel that they're not at church on a Sunday. And as a result, it makes these guys feel like, nah, it's okay, I can rock up there 5-2 because nobody's gonna take my place or nobody's gonna be there, you know. But if you understand that this gift could have been given to anybody else, you know, like we didn't do anything to get these gifts. We didn't deserve these gifts. You know, he could have given it to anybody else. I feel like if you understand that, it makes things so much easier for you to understand that it's more your responsibility. Because I also feel like all of us have a responsibility in the kingdom, you know, whether we are on stage, whether we are part of the ushers, whether we are part of, I feel like every single person has a responsibility in the kingdom. You know, it has nothing to do with you being a musician or not. And once you understand that, you kind of treat it in a way that allows you to be able to be approachable by anyone, yet it keeps you in a place where you remain teachable, meaning that it doesn't matter if you played with Danny Kaye last night. If somebody wants to show you that chord because it doesn't sound right when you play it, it's okay for that person to show you the chord. You shouldn't feel like, do you know where I was last night? Like, do you know what Tenor Bank Joy of Jazz is? You know, like you don't want anyone to feel like they can now not get through to you, even if it's someone younger, if it's someone less experienced. You know, I feel like being humble keeps you in a safe place, bro, because you don't know who knows more than you. You know, you don't know who knows better. Because in some cases, there's people sitting in the congregation that know 10 times better than you do. You know, the worst place for you to be is arrogant in that time, because should that person come on stage, you're going to end up feeling like, maybe I shouldn't have been like that. I feel like being humble keeps you in a safe place. Someone can approach you. If you remain teachable, even better. Anyone can speak to you about anything, as opposed to feeling like you're carrying your secular CV around in church, expecting respect from the congregants. You know, like that should never be the case. You know, I feel like being humble is the best place that you can be, bro. Like in both on stage, both in church and away from church. Like naturally just being a humble person. Like it keeps you in such a safe place, bro. You have no idea. Like I said, you don't know who knows more than you do. But being humble opens you up to being able to learn from anybody. And I think that's a beautiful thing. You know?
Okay, and then my last question, and guys, if you got any questions, please put them in the comments if you've got any questions for these two guys. But my last one is now the importance of relationship, and trying to balance music through that within a team, because I'm a firm believer that we haven't been called to be a karaoke machine, so I'm not, we're not a CD player that's been put on stage. We come with stuff, right? A CD player is easy, when you just need to wipe it every now and wipe the dust off, and then it's good, but that's not what God requires, right? Because if all we're doing is trying to play good music, then you can most use a CD player, right? But we're not that. We're not karaoke machines, right? So an important part of what we do is relationships. So people, like I said, balancing these things of being prepared, being rehearsed, and relationships can be a massive thing. So my statement is that, at what cost is there preparation and practice happening? I mean, I know the answer I'd go for, but I just want to hear from you guys, Rudi. Like, I don't know if you want to say something on that point that I've just made. Like, how does relationships reflect on how prepared you are? And what does it say if you're not? What does it say if you are?
I personally feel that everything stems from relationship, whether it's church or work or friendships or social, anything. If there isn't a relationship, it makes things kind of difficult, That's why I love the fact that the context of a band over the years, most of the times we become friends, and that makes everything so much easier. Like when Maestro just said now, if a guy needs to show you, dude, would you check this, instead of what you're doing? It's just easier if that guy is your friend, or you guys, there's this relationship there, because offense wants to creep in so easily within the team of context. It's just like that, and the person is like, "Who do you think you are?" And I just believe that if there's a relationship, if we have coffees together, if we come into each other's spaces, like to have a braai at our house, if our families knows each other, then it makes everything easier. Because if I now, especially let's say Maestro is the MD, and he now needs to say, dude, yeah, don't you want to try something else? Then it makes things so much easier. So for me, I would first, if I had my way, I would first become friends with someone before joining a band with him, because then everything works out better.
Okay, so and Maestro, from your side, your perspective.
I definitely agree with Rudi, bro. I think if there's a relationship, I think the word relationship comes from relate. If I can relate to where you at as a musician, it makes it so much easier for me to do simple things like the example that Rudi made now. Like, if someone wants to know, not all of us want to hear in front of everyone that you want to check that chord, So if I know that you're the kind of guy that would rather have me come to you after rehearsal because of how it's going to make you feel, I can respect that, and I can do it in a private space, as opposed to expecting everyone to just be okay with the fact that I'm a straightforward person and I'm straightforward with everybody. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with being someone that can say how they feel, but not everyone wants to be addressed in the same way.
Yeah.
So a typical example of that is actually like I did this TV show thing with the late Yuma Sikela, and before we got to play, he wanted us to first eat together. Like, we spent about 2 hours just eating before any of us were able to pick up our instruments and all of that. And it played such a big role with us by the time we got to the stage, by the time we got to work, it didn't feel like we needed to find each other musically or any of that, just because there was some kind of relationship, like we had some time to build a relationship before. So I definitely agree. I also think there's a very thin line when it comes to knowing where everyone stays and being in each other's space as a worship team, or like, I feel like those boundaries need to be put in place for us to be able to first build a healthy relationship, because I think familiarity also changes how we tend to sometimes respect each other. Because I slept at your house last week, why are you asking me why am I late? We ride together, you know? So like that obviously changes some of the rules if I'm too familiar with you. So I fully agree with the idea that the relationship should be built. However, I think it should be built within like a safe perimeter for us to be able to do both work and whatever else needs to be done.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. I mean, I really appreciate that. I think that's some great insight there, from both sides of the coin, and I think it's so weird, although we're talking about stewardship, everything, especially within a worship team where there's music involved, comes down to that very thing of just being in each other's space, being with people, being in a united team. And we can't overstate that, you know what I mean? Like it has to start in that place, like I said before, we're not called to be a karaoke machine. We are called to bring these gifts and to function together, you know what I mean? So I think if anything's been highlighted, it's that, there is the parable of obviously the talents, and I'm not going to go too much into that. You guys can go read that in Matthew. I think it's chapter 25. We don't even have to go into that, you know what I mean? Like, God hasn't called me to preach tonight, so I'm not going to do that. Tonight was just practical inspiration from these guys who are both hold in high esteem because of their level of just the way they approach it and the way they see their talent, so I just want to encourage you guys to understand that, like we've heard it from them, and it's encouraging. It's encouraging to hear that, at every level, just once again, the level of humility, dealing with relationships, etc., being prepared to be a catalyst for change, to be a catalyst for inspiration, to be a catalyst for your team to grow and just to expand and just to explode. I've always had this vision of river flowing off the stage of churches, coming from the creatives' hearts, because there's something that they carry. And like I said, it's so much more than your instrument. And I'm really trusting for the day that just gets connected, and we start seeing changes flowing off the stages, understanding where it flows from, just really becoming a conduit together for what God wants to achieve. Yeah. If it wasn't about relationships, we'd have worship DJs by now. But there's just so much more that we carry as a band, as people. Worship DJs. I'm surprised there's no such thing as a worship DJ yet. It's probably coming. But
yeah.
But this is the thing, guys. Like that's why to understand that it's about each other. It's about these relationships. It's about what God wants to do with a team, and my level of preparation is also going to say a lot about how I see my gifting, how I see my peers, I could never rock up to a rehearsal with Maestro and not know my stuff. But I can promise you this, that thought never went through my head. And I'll tell you why, because I looked forward to it so much. It was, I want to bring my best, not just because God's not insecure, because I want to honor my teammates, and I couldn't wait for that, get in there and just bring it. And together we're going to shake the heavens, and we're looking forward to that. It was never a case of you have to else. It was never that case. So any questions before we say goodbye? Any questions from anyone for these two guys? Questions, or even a comment. Anybody want to add something? Just add a comment, or and you're allowed to speak, guys. you're allowed to switch on your mics and your videos and have something to say. Eh?
Please do, guys. We'd like to hear what you
They'd
guys
love to
think
hear.
or what you have.
Anybody? No hands. Anyone? Anybody?
Can I just say while we wait?
Yes.
I'm really honored to meet you, Maestro. I've heard so much about you. I've probably seen you perform so many times that I'm not trying to make this something else good. It's just really nice to meet you.
Go for it.
So, you look so much like your brother, man.
That's not the best news. Also not for this Zoom call, but okay, I'll take that now.
How many kids how many brothers and sisters are musical in your family?
All of us actually, Kurt. Like all my sisters sing, all my brothers can play an instrument. Not all of us are full time, but everybody can at least hold a note or play something.
So out of 12 siblings, you are all musical. You all play something.
Yeah, my sisters are all my sisters sing, and my brothers can play instruments. All of us.
Yeah, sure. Oh, that's incredible. That will actually be nice to have a Zoom just about that one day, growing up in a musical family where you got 12 brothers and sisters and you're all musical, you know. Did you get to choose your instrument?
That sounds so interesting, to be honest. But yeah.
Did you get to choose your instrument, or were you given keys?
No. Actually, there wasn't a keys player in the family, bro. Like my dad taught these guys to play, because my dad taught Josh to play drums, and my brother's playing guitar. And I should actually tell you that story about my dad, bro. Like the one thing that made all of us, that made all of us musical. Like my dad was part of a church many years ago, and the guy that played in church would come late, or he would either not come. My dad bought an acoustic guitar for 3 rand, Kurt. And he started teaching himself to play. And here we all are, bro. Like everyone has some kind of ability to do this thing.
Yeah, so that's an incredible story. And I think if people knew the level that you guys do it at, it's just it's an incredible story, bro, to realize that started with a 3 rand guitar.
Where are those prices these days, man?
Yeah, no, you don't. It's definitely not going to see those prices. But that's incredible, man. Anyway, but guys, if there's yeah, that's good. A 3 rand guitar sounds like a blues song. Brilliant. Yeah, that's great. So guys, just once again, thanks for joining. Thanks to Rudi and to Maestro. Thank you to all the guys that are part of this of the Zeal movement, and just spending time just talking through these things. And please, if there's any feedback or any questions or any comments, you get hold of your respective leaders, like JP in Pretoria, Shane in Bethlehem, Pierre in Kuruman, and speak to us and let us know, you know. And we'll be here. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time again. We're just waiting at this stage for level 4 to come down before we can gather legally again. We're not going to take the law into our own hands at this stage, and so we will await until it's safe to do so, and then we will continue with the course. And in the meantime, every second week we'll be doing a Zoom call like this, getting somebody online and just asking them about their journey and speaking about different subjects. So thank you so much, and hope you guys stay warm, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time again. So thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having us, guys. Rudi, nice to meet you, bro. Take care, stay safe. Have a good one. Thanks.
Cheers.